the World Healing Tour movement with your host, Noah Crane. Heal yourself, heal the world.
Hey everybody, my name is Lisa Ray. I'm a literary agent and I'm working with the media team here at The Grass Grows where I am, and we are so excited to bring you a co-author experience where you will grow your brand and your visibility. Click the link below and apply now for free, and we will see you inside the pages of The Grass Grows where I am.
Hello. Welcome to the World Healing Tour podcast, where our mission is to help you heal yourself so you can heal the world. Hi, my name is Noah Crane. Each week, we will bring you tips and tools and inspire you to live your most empowered and joyful life. I'm also the author of the book, The Grass is Greenest Where I Am, because the grass is greenest where you are when you say so. When you live in a place of no comparison, no competition, and no scarcity. When you learn to live in your own love and light and share your own unique gifts with the world, because we're all unique, right? And we all came here to bring a little piece of ourselves to the world. That's why it's called World Healing Tour, because when we heal ourselves and our lives, we truly create that ripple effect in the world to help others heal as well. Each week, I bring incredible people into studio to help pour into you and into your life and help you on this journey, because we all need support and we can all learn so much from each other. My guest today, Christine Abrams, is a therapist and a parent educator. She works with parents to help them create incredible relationships with their children. She's doing incredible work in this world, and I'm so excited to share everything that she's doing here with you today. So Christine, welcome to the World Healing Tour podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Hi, Noah. Thank you so much.
Yes, it's great to have you with us. We froze there for a second, but it's all good.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
So Christine, first of all, I'm so grateful for our connection, and, we've done a lot of things together, and I know you and your commitment to others and really helping people on the journey. You've taught me so much in my own life, how to be more peaceful and more connected. And so I know you're always into like growing and becoming and transforming. And it's just very inspiring to me. So I wanted to start by asking you, what's that pull inside of you that makes you just want to keep learning and growing yourself? What is that inside of you? What's that calling that's just...
That's a really great question. I think it happened when I was very young. I grew up in an extremely dysfunctional family. We were very poor, and I realized that I did not want to be my parents or sound like them or have anything to do with them because of the trauma that I was going through. And I made this decision one day in 7th grade to just, find a better way. And I've been exploring all sorts of spiritual modalities since then. I remember my 7th grade teacher, actually, English teacher, wanted to cart me off to integral yoga to learn yoga. And I thought she meant yogurt. So we were going to do some yogurt making. I had no idea what it was. And I went to tell my mother, and my mother said, "What's going on? Is she trying to sell you into white slavery?" And I didn't even know what she was talking about. I'm like, "No, I don't know. It's yogurt or something." And then when I went to integral yoga, it was life-changing. And I've been a yogini since then. It just settled me. It was just beautiful for my body and my mind. And then I just got into other modalities. And what I realized was that I wanted to bring this to other people, not necessarily yoga, but peace and calmness and resilience, because I really feel that I was very resilient growing up, and connection. I wanted people to be connected to each other, specifically parents and children. I didn't want someone's child icing out their parents the way I iced out my parents, because as much as it was a safety mechanism back then, it would have been great to have a better relationship with them and to be able to rely on them more. But, and everything has an upside and a downside, right? So not relying on them meant I was fiercely independent and had to make my own way. And that was, again, that had an upside and a downside, but it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, it's amazing how, through our, traumas and everything else that we go through, we can actually, become so resilient. Why is resilience such an important thing to you in your life? And how has your resilience helped you become the woman you are today?
It's important because there's that word grit that's thrown around. It gives you grit. It gives you the ability to be knocked down and get up again, which is really important. You don't just, collapse and say, oh, I just can't do it. No, no, you have to keep moving forward. And so, the hardship really created resilience in me because I had to survive. My mother was an alcoholic, right? And to survive, I had to be able to read very quickly whether I was in danger when she came home drunk. And that was a wonderful gift in a way, because it allows me to read people and see where are they in pain? What's going on? Are they really telling the truth here? I've become a better judge of character. And in my line of work as a therapist, it's very helpful because I can tune into my clients very quickly. And so, it's important for people to be resilient because it builds strength and everybody should be strong and not give up, right? There's also, I mean, I've learned later in life that, I'm connected to creation, to God, whatever you want to call it, and that sustains me, right? And I can always rely on that. And that's very helpful and it's very comforting. And I don't know if enough people have that comfort. And that makes me sad because if you feel so alone, without something to rely on, it can be scary, sad, and very depressing.
Yeah, and having God in your life is an incredibly important thing as far as I see it too. Because we're always guided, right? We're always, if we
Yes.
listen to the messages, we're always guided. And I am really grateful that you also were guided to become part of our anthology book, The Grass Grows Where I Am. So, Christine, I'm so grateful in the book, and just people like you are the ones that are really drawn into the message of growth, of resilience, of wisdom, of enlightenment, and of worthiness, which are the four pillars of the grass grows where I am. And you decided to go under resilience because your resilience has helped you through things in your life, which I think is incredible, and that you get to share that in the anthology book, The Grass Grows Where I Am. And I could see why you chose the resilience part of it.
Yeah, and I'm so happy to be part of the book. I mean, at first I was scared and we had that discussion, but it's important for my message to get out because I really want to be able to help people. And what I learned from writing that piece was um, it's important to help parents. That's really my life's mission is to help parents and their children connect in a deeper, more holistic and positive way than, some of them are doing now. And there's no blame. I mean, unfortunately, we learn how to parent from our parents. And, everybody promises, I'm never going to sound like my mother. I'm never going to sound like my father. Then one fine day, your child triggers you, and bam, mom comes out or dad comes out of your mouth. And you're like, oh my goodness, where'd that come from? Because, you don't get a manual when you have your child. You just get your baby and a congratulations from the nurse, but no manual. You get more information when you buy a new car. So I was just, and that's writing the chapter helped me clarify, my purpose in the world. And I just loved the experience. It was such an amazing experience writing this for the book, Noah.
Yeah, I love that. And I can't wait till the book comes out so we can really share you on our platform even more because, your chapter is about no label parenting. Let's talk about that. Why did you choose to write about no label parenting as a therapist? Why is that such an important thing for us to see that we shouldn't label our kids?
Well, it's important because nowadays, and it wasn't when I was growing up, people did not want to have a mental health diagnosis. It was very verboten. It's become very in vogue now. And unfortunately, everybody is quick to assign a label to a child. So if you have a fidgety kid in school, immediately the teachers are like, your child has ADHD. No, they don't. They're fidgety because they're kids. They really shouldn't be sitting there 6 hours a day. They should be outside playing. That even goes for high schoolers. I mean, think about it. When we go to a conference, how much attention span do we really have? An hour, maybe? Otherwise, people are on their phones doing their internet thing. No one can, you can't pay attention for that long when someone's babbling on and on. So, what I found is that now kids these days are actually labeling themselves. They're on TikTok, which I think is poison for kids, okay? And they're like, oh, yes, I have autism. Oh, yes, I have ADHD. Oh, I'm borderline personality disorder. And these are labels that a very small percentage of the population has, but yet kids are coming in to me saying, this is what I have, da, 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 da. And, and I've come to learn that they've learning about this online. And I think it's because, they want an identity, right? And you get a lot of attention when you hang on to a label. So I don't like labeling, and I don't want parents to label. Now, I'm not saying there might be something wrong with some children, fair and good, but let's try other approaches first. And with the label-free parenting, I have a program that has the three R's. The first one is recognize, the second R is reorient, and the third one is reconnect. And the first one is taking an assessment to see, what your particular saboteurs are, the things that really disrupt you as a parent in being successful and happy. Any sign of anxiety, sadness, anger, depression is a saboteur raising its head, because we're really designed to be joyful and in peace. That doesn't mean things aren't disruptive, but it's how you respond. And then the reorient is really looking at your own mental health and your own mental fitness, which I think is a better word, and getting that in order, right? So it always starts with the parents first, because kids really tune into you as a parent. They know what you're feeling. And when they mimic parents when they're younger, it's spot on because they're watching you every minute. And then the last part is reconnecting, where I teach parents how to reconnect with their children verbally, energetically. And by then, parents have a good, stable understanding of who they are, and they can control whatever's going on in their heads that triggers them, so they can really be present for their children. And so there's a bunch of techniques that I teach parents in the third leg of this stool.
Yeah, and those are such important points. And it's so true that we're, as parents, going back to what you said before, is we do get triggered by our kids. And, I was all this relaxed person until I had kids. And then they started triggering me. And I did see ugliness come out or things that I wasn't committed to. And so to have that awareness, right, that, hey, I need to change. Like, it's not about my kid changing. I need to build that emotional connection with my child, is just couldn't be anything more important than that, because if we don't build that connection early on, it's much harder to do it later, right?
It's harder, but not impossible. Okay. And it's amazing because sometimes parents have the idea, oh, my child's older. I can, not pay as much attention. Absolutely not. Teenagers need structure. And they'll moan and complain and push back. It doesn't matter. They want the structure. It's really important. And you make such great points there, Noah, about, having this stuff come up when your kids trigger you. And that's what these beautiful little beings that you bring into the world, really one of their functions is to make you go deep and clean out your programming and change it, right? And make you aware of what your stuff. Sometimes you don't know. We're all programmed ever since we're little. And the idea is to be aware of the program and change it. We got to upgrade the program like you do on your computer. And, and kids, and there's another program that I do. It's interesting. It's called SPACE, supportive parenting for anxiety. Emotions, SPACE. And that's all about, kids, parents learning how to lessen that anxiety in the children. Because sometimes the parents are highly anxious when their children are anxious. And you resonate like a tuning fork. And so when the parents get more stable and feel more confident about what they're doing, they're able to direct their kids. And then that's where the bond grows, because the child feels secure, heard, listened to. And that's really important for kids.
Yeah, we have to be that strong foundation for our children, right? We have to be grounded in ourselves in order to create that foundation for our kids to grow strong, and to actually be a teacher for
Yes.
them, and to be a teacher and to show them how to do things, not to do things for them. right? But it is, it, like you said, it's the hardest job in the
Yes.
world. And, I got one book when I had my kids, which is What to Expect When You're Expecting. And guess what? I never read that book. And so, I didn't, and it's true. I think we all get things and we put them aside. And what I realized in my own life that, anything that you want to be successful at, you have to research, you have to learn, you have to grow, you have to hire somebody like you to coach, to be able to learn the tools. Because if you don't invest in that, what are you going to invest in? That is the foundation to everything. And if you don't do it now, if we don't take control of the reins now as parents, later on it's out of control and it gets a lot harder to be
It
able
is
to do it. So,
harder.
like, if you don't parent them now, you're going to have to parent them later. If you don't give
Right.
them the independence and the tools today, then what happens later? It doesn't get better, right? It gets
Yeah.
wild, more wild.
And the key is, kids are great observers, but lousy interpreters.
Mhm.
And an example is when I was working as an administrator in a school district, I ran the counseling department. A first grader came to her school counselor and said, I want to die. I want to kill myself. Well, so the counselor calls the mom. The mom is terribly upset. They take the child to get checked out. A couple of weeks go by, counselor checks in and she says, what happened? Are you better? What was going on there? And the kid said, well, when I was home, mom would ignore me. I would ask mom something and she's doing the dishes and she'd say later, later. And my parents really didn't talk much to me. So I thought, they don't want me. So why am I here? I may as well die. And she said, but it's changed. Now I say, Mom, can we talk? And mom puts something down and talks to me. And it's much better. I really feel like they want me. And you see, the parents wanted their child, but they were busy. They were both working to keep the household up and running. But this little girl didn't understand that. She thought, they're not paying attention to me. So why am I here? And they don't want me. Terrible interpretation, not accurate. And so, things went smoothly after that. And then, it's just important for parents to really make time to listen. Now, if you're doing something and you can't say, okay, honey, I hear you. Give me 5 minutes. I'll get right back to you. Right. That's important. Phones. Phones. I go into restaurants, I see the whole family on their cell phones. Nobody's talking. There really should be rules. Phone-free evenings, play board games together, do things together so you're building that connection, right? Everybody's so isolated now because you're on a phone, even though you think you're connecting to the world. It's not, it's cyber, it's virtual, it's not real in a sense. And so your kids need to be able to have face to face. I mean, I observed our high school cafeteria and the kids were texting each other sitting at the same table. Makes no sense. You need to have that human connection. And so parents can help do that by limiting, cell phone use or limiting, putting a cap on an age when they can actually have phones. And if your child really feels they need to talk to you, get them a flip phone because they can call or they can text. They don't need a smartphone, until they're about 15 or 16, honestly. I know it sounds harsh. The other problem is other parents in the neighborhood will get their children phones, and then that poor lone parent who says no phone, the child saying, well, now I don't have any friends because I can't connect to them. It's all of that. So it really should be a community push to keep cell phones out of kids' hands. But that maybe that will come someday. We'll see.
Yeah, that would be great. And I think there's more awareness of that right now. I think in the beginning, there wasn't the awareness of, because, when our kids are young and, we want to do our own thing or we want to do something and we don't realize, we just like, oh, here's the phone or here's the movie or here's
Exactly.
that. And we don't realize that that's slowly breaking the bond, between parent and child and the trust and all kinds of things. And we're putting things in their field that they shouldn't be there so early on in life. We're not monitoring everything they do. And it's very hard to go back. So it's better to start early with those things
Yes.
and not to give that in so easily and, let them build that trust and let them grow up and develop their brain before you start giving them all those electronics.
Agreed. And I think school districts, honestly, should ban cell phones,
Mhm.
right? That's it. Put them in a pouch, let the pouch sit in the main office, and the kid gets it at the end of the day. They don't need cell phones in school at all. And I have one client, she's in her mid-20s, and she said, I really wish in hindsight that my parents never let me go on the internet She said, I saw things I should have never seen at that age. Now that's, and that's in hindsight what she's saying. It's, you don't know what they're doing online. That's the problem. And they are exposed to things that aren't great, that they shouldn't be. They're too young to see. And so I really think, at a minimum, school districts should ban cell phones while in school. There's just no need to. And when I say this to parents, they're like, oh, but what if there's a school shooter? And I'm like, what are you going to do about it? First of all, if your child's calling you, if there's a school shooter, listening to what they should be doing, and that puts them in danger. All ears should be on the teachers or whoever's in charge, not calling you to tell you. You'll know there's a school shooting because the district will send out an email or the news is covering it immediately. So that's not going to help the situation.
That makes total sense. I love that idea. Let's do it. All right, we're gonna we're gonna take a quick commercial break from our sponsor, and we'll be right back with Christine Abrams.
Hi, I'm Chris Trammell. I'm the marketing director for The Grass Grows Where I Am, and we can't wait to work with you. And if being in this anthology book would make a difference for your brand, your visibility, and your profitability, click the link below and let's get you started. Can't wait to work with you.
And we are back with Christine Abrams. This is such a great conversation, Christine. So let me ask you, so when parents make the investment of working with you, it's a 12-week program, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you kind of take them through like what they learn each week? Like how does it go exactly?
Sure. So for the first 6 weeks, I use a program called Positive Intelligence, created by this gentleman named Shirzad Chamine. And he actually designed it for corporations, but it has applicability to everybody. And so, I went through that program myself, and it consists of learning about your judge, because everybody has a judge. We judge ourselves, we judge others, and we judge circumstances, right? So it helps you define your judge. And then, as I said, you have the saboteurs. There are about 10 saboteurs. Some of them are like controller, hypervigilant, what is it called? Stickler, the person has to have everything perfect. And so there are all these saboteurs. And when you take the assessment in phase 1, you learn your top 3 saboteurs. Now, the hint is everybody's got all 10, but 3 are usually active at any one time. And your saboteurs affect the way you interact with your child, right? So if you're a stickler, you may push that onto them. Nothing's perfect for them. They can't do anything perfect, blah, blah, blah. And then the children internalize this, right? So once you've learned that, you go through the 6-week program of learning about your saboteurs and how to control them, right? To get control over the mind. And basically, whenever you're feeling anxious, depressed, angry, that's a hint that your saboteur is in control. So what we want to do is develop self-command. The program comes with an app, and each week is a webinar that you listen to before we meet, either as a group or individually, and then we go through what you learned, how you can apply this to your children. So that's the 6 weeks. And there are all these sage powers that you can use that help you become a better parent. And by sage, we mean the prefrontal cortex, right? Staying there and not back here, which I call the lizard brain, right? You're in fight or flight when you have those very high intense emotions. And so the idea of the PQ program is mental fitness, keeping you in your prefrontal cortex so you can respond to your children and not react. So here's an example. I was working with a parent on this program, and we've been working on it. She went through the program, and she's continuing to practice the PQ regimen. And she said to me, I'm so proud of myself. I have to tell you what happened. And I said, what? She said, well, you know how I'm a yeller. And if my kids do something wrong, I flip out and scream. I said, yeah, but we're getting better, right? She goes, oh, well, my son asked my husband for his credit card, and he used it to purchase some online gaming stuff, and he ran up a bill of $100. And she said, when I found out, I wanted to, and then I did my PQ reps, which you'll learn about, that calmed me down. And she said, and I said to my son, I see you've done a little credit card fraud here. You used dad's card to run up $100. She said, so here's what's going to happen. You have a debit card, have at it. Use it. If your money's gone, your money's gone. And you've lost your privilege for this game for 3 weeks, right? So the kid started to melt down. She was calm and said, sorry, you need to reset, and walked away. And when he calmed down, she came back and said, wow, look at you. You really reset. I know it's harsh, but it's okay. You made a mistake. You paid the price, and we move on. And I was stunned because ordinarily she would have melted down beyond. And she was so proud of herself, and I was proud of her. She also used a technique that's in the Reconnect section, which is based on the Nurtured Heart approach by, oh my gosh, I forgot his name, the guy who did the Nurtured Heart approach, Howie Glasser. And the Nurtured Heart approach is 3 stands, and you learn the 3 stands and how to implement them with your child. And what we do is I give you the tools, you practice them, and then we talk about it when we meet again, and we continue on. And so you have your own mental fitness, your own self-command, and that enables you to implement the Nurtured Heart approach, where the reset, which she did with her son, is part of it. She was able to reset herself, get self-command, and then help him reset. And so that's language they use in their home now, the reset language. But there's more to it than that. There's really reconnecting to your children on a deeper level by pointing out what's going right instead of what's going wrong. Because we're very quick to point out what's going wrong. We're always looking for the trouble. Oh, he's not doing this. Oh, he's not doing that. But when your kid's doing something right, what do? Oh, good job. Attaboy, way to go. We don't really make a big deal out of it. But if they do something wrong, they get the biggest energy.
Yes, that's
Right.
true. Yeah.
Right. And so we need to reverse that. We have to reverse that. And that's the program. Plus, we would have about 2 individual coaching sessions afterwards to follow up to see how you're doing.
Right. So the first 6 weeks, you start with the app and you learn how to get into your own mental fitness, right? And be
Yes.
able to, come from a different space, not from a
Yes.
place of judgment, not from a place of making something wrong, but just of a place of communicating more from a loving space, right? From a curiosity,
With
right?
yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's getting yourself, it's being kind to yourself. It's not judging yourself. It's not judging it's not letting the saboteurs take over, right? It's really giving names to the voices in your head that make you unhappy, that cause you to, be cranky or agitated. And so you're able to get self-command over that. And once, as you had pointed out so eloquently before, once you know you and you've gotten yourself together, it's much easier to deal with people outside of you.
No, this is really exciting that you kind of put all these things together and created your own program, because they're all great tools and put together, forget about it. They just really help you be in control of yourself so you can show up in a much better way for your kids.
Right. And then how to really connect to the kids, which is, the other part of the program, in a way that makes you feel good. And by the way, Nurtured Heart can be used with anybody. I use it all the time with people in the supermarket, right? I'm always looking for what they're doing right and letting them know instead of just, taking it for granted. So it makes you feel good. It makes your child feel good. But that's, it's not blowing smoke up their rears. It's being specific and catching them in the moment. And then the other part of Nurtured Heart is, you do have clear rules and consequences. And I find that's the hardest part for parents to do. They have a hard time with consequences.
Yes,
You
that
have,
was
you,
always my hardest thing, Christine. How do you figure out the consequences? I always got stuck on that.
Well, and you let them know ahead, like you don't make it up in the moment. So if they do something, you don't just scream and say, okay, you've lost, you're grounded. None of that. No, you say, like, for an example, if you say to your teenage daughter, all right, sweetie, curfew's at 11:30. You have to be home at 11:30. Okay, they're not home at 11:30. They walk in at 11:45. Sweetie, curfew's at 11:30, and we discussed prior to this that you will lose your car privileges and will have to take the bus to school. That's it. I mean, you just sort of set it out there. Sometimes you can say to your kid, what do you think the consequence should be for this rule being broken? Often they're harsher on themselves and you have to pull it back. But it's a discussion when they're in their prefrontal cortex, not when they've done something and they're very frightened. The consequence is never delivered through a shout or anger. It's just, here's the fact. It's just like a cop when they stop you and they want to give you a ticket and you're like, oh, but my cat's dying and I have to go, blah, blah, blah. You make up a story and they're like, oh, ma'am, okay, ma'am, here you go. Have a good day. They don't care. They just give you the consequence. That's it. And that's how we have to be. It's hard, right? When your child is activated, because you're so connected to your child, you become activated. right? But the idea is to have the discussion. And, I mean, you can't have there's no specific one. Like a parent said to me, I need a book of punishments. I'm like, there's no such thing. We're not punishing them. We're teaching them that they can control themselves and do what's right.
Yeah,
That's it.
and if we don't control ourselves, how can they learn to control themselves, right?
They
If we're
can't.
just
They
flying
can't.
off the handle every little thing, how can they learn
Right.
to do it any better? Yeah.
And think about that. If you're flying off the handle, what are they learning? Oh, this is how you respond.
Hmm.
And it's not conscious. And when they have their kids, they do the same thing. I just had a discussion with another young adult about how she's the first person in her family that is stopping the generational trauma because she's working on herself. She's trying to make it better. She's really, doing it. And that's important.
And you know what else that I noticed? Even if you work on yourself and you do stop a lot of the trauma, there's still going to be some trauma, right?
Yes.
There's no kids that hasn't had any trauma. You can't protect them from trauma, right? You can just do the
No.
best you can to give them that foundation where they feel that they're wanted, they're loved, and that they're supported, right, by
And
you.
yes, and that they can bounce back.
Mhm.
That's the key, right? Because a lot of kids today, oh my goodness, and Noah, when we talk about trauma, it's like and I'm guilty of this. We overuse the word. Not everything is trauma, right? You have some bad moments. I mean, it's not like being in a war where you have PTSD. There are things that are just uncomfortable or upsetting. And some kids just can't bounce back from that. And so the idea is to give them the resilience for the parents to say, yeah, that happened. That sucked. But you know what? I know you can get through this and move on. That's really important for parents to have confidence, particularly with kids who have anxiety, right? When I had a parent whose kid would not sleep in his own bed, he was 9 years old. And this was ruining the marriage. It was really a mess. And so we talked about what we should do. And, mom said to the boy, she read him a letter and said, here's what's going to happen. You're not allowed in our bedroom at night. If you shout that you need us, dad will come and check on you twice only, and then he's going to bed. We know, though, you can handle this. We know it. And I said to her, you have to really know it. You can't lie because they can pick up a lie in a millisecond. And she did. And from then on, the kid started sleeping in his own bed. And all his other fears started to melt away because he felt that she had confidence in him, that he could overcome his anxiety. That's really key with parents.
Yeah, and to set those boundaries, right, with the kids.
Yes, important, important, right? And, parents don't have to be children's friends.
Mhm.
They're parents. They set boundaries, they set structures. And I think, children know how to get under your skin, right? Like kryptonite for parents is, I hate you. I hope you die. You're the worst parent in the world. And I say to parents, oh, they don't mean it. Your response can be, well, thanks for letting me know how you feel. Hopefully the feelings will change, but I still love you, right? You just don't get caught into the vortex of what they're creating because
Yeah,
they know how to hurt you,
yeah,
right?
and a lot of parents are very hurt by their kids, I know that I had a time when I used to be really hurt by my kids, and I used to take things really personally. And I think what I've really learned is that you can't take it personally what they say,
No.
because, that means you have more healing to do on yourself when you're
Yes,
taking what they're saying to you literal. Because kids will say things, and like you said, they know how to push the right buttons to hurt you.
that's right. And let's extend that to adults.
Mhm.
It's never personal, right? Someone's projecting onto you or whatever. And we know, see, I always say if it's hysterical, it's historical. So if you have a huge emotional reaction to something, that's your problem, not the other person's, because no one can make you feel anyway. Right?
Mhm.
I mean, there are a million ways to respond to a comment. And that person happened to trigger something in you that you believe about yourself, which is why you take it personally. It's never personal. It really isn't, you know? And so if you can be in that prefrontal cortex and respond rather than react, you're in a much better place at work, day to day with your kids. It makes so much sense to do that.
So, what's your advice for people to get more into that front cortex?
It's really it's like mindfulness. So like if you do the positive intelligence program, there are things that are called PQ reps. I mean, you do them for about 2 minutes. It can be as simple as just rubbing your hands together and focusing on that. And when the mind drifts, you bring it back to what you're feeling, right? You can also just sit quietly and listen to noises. And when the thoughts intrude, you bring it back to what you're hearing, right? That's the idea, is to get control of the mind so it doesn't wander off. Because our minds are always wandering. And people, oh, I can't help it. Yeah, you can. You can bring it back. It takes practice, right? And so that gives you self-command.
So
Anything like that.
so the prefrontal cortex, when you're there, you're going to be more peaceful.
Peaceful, logical, responsive rather than reactive. So, like the woman with her son who spent the money on the credit card, she was in a response mode. She could respond to the situation. If she hadn't been doing all this work on herself, she would have flipped out. God knows what would have happened. They would have been screaming at each other. And so she was able to manage.
So you call that the other brain that people use, where they're not using their logic.
Yeah. So
what did you call it?
I like to use this because this is easy. The owl brain versus the lizard brain.
I like
right?
that. I like that.
Yeah.
So the owl brain has eyes wide open.
Yes, and you see things and you're clear about things and you're not you're not seeing things through your lenses, right? Like everybody has a different perception. I can see it raining outside and say, "Oh, this is great. I can stay in bed and read." And you might say, "Darn, I can't go out and take my walk. I'm going to get drenched. It's rain." Right? We have different perceptions of it. Same thing with people. This is why juries are so, or witnesses are so unreliable, because you see something, an accident, everybody has a different take on it, right?
So will the owl brain help you see things from another perspective?
Yes, you can empathize, right? You can see because you're not identified with what's happened. So if your child does something, I always look at it when a child does something out of character or wrong or is angry, it's a communication. It has nothing to do with me. They don't have the words or the skills to communicate. So it's let's calm down and what's going on? Not get activated by them, right? Because you know how energy works, it can be very contagious, right? So if your child is activated and is in that angry, really, meltdown mood, it's going to upset you, particularly if you have something you have to get done or you're late for someplace, you're going to end up taking on that energy and you're in your lizard brain. You're both lizards at that moment.
Why is it called the lizard brain?
Because the lizard brain, it's just lizards work on instinct. That's it, right? They don't have any thought process. They're not thinking. It's very primitive. So it's the primitive part of the brain. Lizards are primitive, right? And so it's fight or flight for a lizard. They don't know. They can't figure out, oh, there's a nice lady. She's going to give me a peanut. No, they're like, human, let me get out of here, right? They don't know what's going on.
So it's all based on emotions. Would you say the lizard brain is completely like based in emotions? We're interacting with people based on just our emotions in that moment.
It's flight or flight, fight or flight mostly with that, right? So whenever you're activated, let's say when you're having an argument with a spouse, you're not listening to the other person. You're already formulating your response because you have to defend yourself. That's it. And then you're in your fight or flight, right? It's fight, flight, or freeze. You have spouses that shut down when they're in an argument. They're in freeze mode. They can't respond. They walk away. Some of them fight back. Some of them say, F you, I'm out. And they walk out. Right? And that's highly emotional, right? You feel those feelings. They're very toxic. It's the cortisol, right? Like I was in fight or flight my whole life until I got out of the house. And believe me, that lingered because it wasn't a safe space. So you want to make it safe for your kids. They'll have their meltdowns, they're kids, but you model, and that's the key. You have to be the model of, you're going to just, and that's where in Nurtured Heart, we learn the reset. All right, sweetie, we're upset. Let's reset and then walk away, give them a moment. Right. And if they can get that self-command and that self-control, You turn back, wow, look at you. You really are managing your feelings right now. I love that. Okay, let's take a minute and let's talk about what's going on. What were you feeling there? Right? And I had another mom who used this with her son who was so upset because he does math in his head, which is fascinating to me. I have to use my fingers. He can figure out a problem like that. So mom calls me up and says the school's failing him because he won't show his work. I said, well, why? She said, he says he doesn't know how and he just does it in his head. I said, well, give him a couple problems. See if he really does it in his head. She said he got 9 out of 10 right and he did it instantly. And I said, well, sit down and talk to him and say, wow, had no idea you could do this. This is an amazing gift. Let me talk to your teacher and see what we can do so you don't have to show your work. And the kid was just like, wow, mom, you understand. I'm so happy. I've been worrying about, and he was so worried, right? But she really listened to him, got her data, listened to him, instead of siding with the school immediately saying, you got to get a better grade in math. You got to show your work. That's what they expect. No, he's different. God bless him that he can do this. Most kids can't. The teacher can't. So I just said, as long as he's not, if he's not using a calculator and he does it in his head, good. And he had gotten so much closer as a result of that.
Yeah, so how important was that for a parent to take their child's side instead of siding with other people or teachers on that? Do you think that's something that really creates that bond between parents and children?
Yes, but more than that, she put her own expectations to the side, right? I expect you to get a high grade. I expect, parents have all these expectations for their kids. They come from a great place because they want their children to be happy and successful. Success doesn't necessarily mean good grades. That's another conversation. But she put that aside to really listen to what was going on with her child. And he was so grateful that she understood. So that's what was important. And so she can go advocate for her child at school. And it's a fair thing to do. He's different. Let's not put him in a box where he just can't show his work. He said it happened so fast in his head. There's no way to do it.
Yeah,
Now, he agreed.
and the child felt supported by his parent because his parents
Yes,
created a solution. And I think
exactly.
that's what is important in this story is that we as parents are creating solutions for our kids because they're counting on us for solutions.
Yes.
They get easily stressed and easily shaken by others if they don't feel like they have someone in their corner all the time.
Yes, and then another couple has a son. He's bright, and dad is like, in order for you to get into an Ivy school or this or that, you have to get high grades, high grades. Kid was just paralyzed. And mom finally said, listen, don't worry about it. I know you're a good kid. I know as long as you study and take your tests, I'm not worried about it. I know you're going to be fine. And he started crying. Thank you so much, mom, for understanding that kind of thing. Right. And see, parents always, you always have the best intentions for your children, but sometimes it's not where your kid is at the moment, or you haven't heard what they're saying. Right. And don't assume your children are lazy because they're not getting good grades in school. Sometimes it's the teacher, sometimes it's the content, sometimes just boring and they can't focus. So you have to dig and get more information, ask a lot of questions. And then, talk to the child. What do you think you need to help you through this? Like when a child, like my stepson would fail a test, I'd say, it's okay. So what can we do better next time? What do you need? Do you need a tutor? Do you need me to help you? You need more time to study? Do you need a schedule? Let's brainstorm what you need. So it's collaborative and then they feel understood. And as you say, supported.
Yeah, this is a really important, work and really important that, we're there for our kids and help them through the challenges of life because as we all know, life is challenging. It's not easy.
It's
And so,
not.
if you don't have people supporting you and you have to go through things yourself, it's much harder because you're not going to always make the right decisions or go with the right people. But when you have that good supportive foundation, it really makes a difference for the child and how they feel, as they
Yes,
grow up, and they're able to be that for their kids too, as well, when they have
absolutely.
kids. And like you
And
said, it breaks that cycle of trauma.
what you want is for your child to come to you and not be afraid to ask you something. And what happened with another client, she went through the program and she said, my son came home from middle school and said, Mom, kids are looking at naked pictures. And I'm not sure why, what's going on. I don't really understand it. Well, she said she took a breath and then talked to him about it and said it's not a good thing to do. So you probably can just make an excuse and get yourself out. And they brainstormed ways that he could still keep his friends, but not look at the pornography. That's what you want your kid to do. You want your kid to come home and say, Mom, my friends want me to smoke some pot at the end of the day. I don't know what to do. Right? And then you counsel them.
And
You don't want them.
yeah, and you have to be a safe space for them to talk to you.
Yes. And how do you do that? By you not judging them, right? By saying, "Oh, you didn't meet my expectations," or "How could you do this?" None of that. No, not yelling at them and making them. When kids make a mistake, they feel bad. You don't have to make them feel worse. It's a good idea to have a discussion about it, right? But you want them to tell you those pivotal moments. I'm feeling bad, and everyone says if I smoke marijuana, it'll make me feel better. Okay, honey, let's talk about it. Why are you feeling bad? Maybe there are other ways we can do this. You don't really have to go down the drug route, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and you can probably write the parenting book next,
And no one will read.
No, hey, they'll read it, because, this is foundational stuff. Like, if you don't get that right, you're going to have regret later in life, So invest in that now so that you can have a successful child and a successful relationship with your child, because what you create today is what you're going to have tomorrow, And so
Perfect.
your work,
Yes.
Christine, is so important, and I'm really love what you're doing for parents and helping them. I wish I had you when my kids were growing up, because it definitely would have made a difference in my parenting style. But, we all do the best we can.
That's
and
it.
then, kids are forgiving too,
They are.
They're
Oh
very
my
forgiving.
God.
And so,
They're amazing.
yeah. And we just have to sometimes say, we're sorry, we screwed up. We did the best we could. We didn't know how. So it's all good. But wherever you are, there's always room to improve and to do better. What age do you like? Do you kids have to be like younger for you to work with the parents, or what age up to do you work with those parents?
No, I've worked with parents who have kids in their teenage years. And that does make a difference because, you can really have a discussion with a teenager and they appreciate that. And with younger kids, I think what's so important is try to find love, really feel the love for them and communicate that to them by pointing out, their greatness. What are they doing that's really good? Not always they're messing up. And parents, you do that because you want the best for them. You don't want them to mess up. But if that's all they're hearing, then they internalize that and they're like, gee, I can only get my parents when I'm messing up because that's the only time they'll focus on me. No, you want them to feel that, wow, if I do something right, my mom's all about it. She's like really proud of me and loves me, right? And you love them not because of what they do or don't do. You love them just because they're them, right? That they have inherent beauty and goodness, and that's what you recognize. And that's what we want them to feel about themselves, that they're inherently good and beautiful and are loved, because that's what we're all made of.
Absolutely. And, when you get upset at your child or you scream at your child, if you pay attention, if you become more aware, you literally see the pain in their eyes.
Yes.
The pain of like not being good enough, not being smart enough, not making the right choice. You literally see them beating themselves up. So if you start paying attention to your child's eyes and how they're feeling inside, it really does. It does hit you all of a sudden. You're like, oh my God, like I see that pain, like they actually are in pain. And so we want to take that pain away as parents, but we do that, like you said, with, being in the owl brain, not in the lizard brain, right? And getting out of there in a place of where we're just fight or flight, right? Where we're just, not coming from a place of logic and just coming from a place of maybe emotion and beating up, and coming from a place of love, like you said.
Love and curiosity.
Yeah, love and
I'm
curiosity.
That's it. I mean, and you can use that with any human being, not just your kids, and it gets you a long way,
Yeah, I love curiosity. I think it's such a great tool. I wish I knew that tool when I was parenting, to ask the questions, and to let them kind of, coming to their own, not to point a finger or judge, but just to come from that place of openness and curiosity, giving them the space to come in and tell you what they really feel.
Absolutely. That's perfect. Yeah. So that's what the program's all about. And you grow and your children grow, and it's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, so it's a 12-week program. So it's 6 week on the app. They work with you on themselves, on their own mental fitness. And then
And
after,
we meet as well every week
Mhm.
to discuss and troubleshoot.
Right. And where can they expect to be after working with you for 12 weeks? Where will they be at?
Oh, they'll have much more self-command, and they will be at that point practicing and implementing the nurtured heart approach, which they're going to see a big turnaround in their kids, particularly once they have their own self-command. Then they're able to implement part two, and they'll see a change in their children, a positive change.
That's great. I love what you're doing, Christine. This is just so important. And, I'm so excited that you get to be in the book and to share that message with parents, because so many parents need those tools in their hand, you know, and it's going to make a huge difference for them. So, No Label Parenting with Christine Abrams. She's got an incredible program for you. How do people, Christine, find you, connect with you, and do your program?
I have a website. It's inspireinstitute.net, one word. And you can always email me at you can email me at Christine Abrams, Abrahams 219 at gmail.com.
That's great. That's great. So make sure that you connect with Christine if you're committed to doing your best as a parent every day and helping your children just shine in the world, because it really makes a difference when we heal ourselves. Like we say in the World Healing Tour, we help heal the world because the kids are the world. They are the future. They are, what we're hoping to create, more love and great things in this world. And if we don't pour into them today, then they have to go out into the world and be confused or angry or not really have the tools to the resilience, right? To
That's
deal with
right.
everyday life. So in your program, you're teaching the kids also to be resilient, right? To have more grit.
Yes. Yes. And for them to assimilate the goodness about them so they don't carry this poor self-esteem going forward. Right. And that's important.
Yes. And just to go back a little bit, you were a part of the World Healing Tour. Out of the
Yes.
of the event, you also had a panel of all the authors that are in the book. Can you share a little bit of what the experience was for you to be part of the authors, to meet some of the other authors in the book, and would you recommend other people to want to be a part of the Grass Grows Where I Am, because we still have a few spots open?
Oh, yeah, it's really important. The authors were amazing. I met such high-level people. They were so inspirational. And I would definitely recommend being part of this. I mean, Noah, the support you give the authors, including the marketing, is amazing. I know other people who have done this, and it's just like, here you go, here's your book. But you're really helping us get known. And I love that about this whole program. So I encourage anyone who, feels strongly about what they're doing to join the cause and become part of the book.
Yeah, and the event was beautiful, right? The World
Oh
Healing
my
Tour.
God, I met so many interesting people. I just loved it, really. I really did. It was a wonderful experience.
Yeah, amazing energy and just can't wait for World Healing Tour 3.
Yay!
And yeah, and just to continue growing the platform, because we really are creating a win-win program, and a win-win platform for people, because when you shine and you help other people shine, it's a win-win. So that's what it's all about. This book has an incredible marketing that comes with it to help you really get your program out there, get your really clear on your message and how you want to bring it to the world. So a few more spots left. If you're interested to become, please go ahead and go to noahcrane.com and apply to be an author in The Grass Grows Where I Am. We are super excited to showcase you and your message in the world. Well, Christine, I want to thank you. Any last thing you want to say about your program, or about anything that you want to share before we end the podcast? Any
I
story, anything? We have a few more minutes.
I would just say that it's really important for parents to change the way they relate to kids. It makes them feel better. It makes kids feel better. Remember, you guys, parents, are in charge of the next generation, and we want it to be a great generation. We want kids to be resilient. We want them to be self-sufficient. We want them to love themselves so that they can love other people. So I would hope that take advantage of the program. I'm here. This is my life's work, and I enjoy it. And I want nothing more than to help parents grow and help them really connect with their kids. Because, in the end, it's the kids who, are going to go forward. And I want them to be strong and resilient and loving.
Yeah, and also to remember the parents and have good memories, right, of their childhood, of their upbringing, of the
Absolutely.
support they got, knowing their parents always, were in the corner and did their best. And, don't try to, heal everybody else. Heal your family first. Heal your
Right.
stuff
Heal
here.
yourself.
Yeah, and then you can really create that ripple effect for others as well.
Love it. Thanks, Noah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Christine. I'm so excited about everything to come and for the book to be published this year. And it's going to be an amazing 2025. So I'm excited to continue working together and growing together and creating impact in the world, positive impact, only
Thank you so
positive.
much.
Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
Of course. Grateful for you, Christine. You're beautiful.
Mm.
I want to thank you all for joining me today on the World Healing Tour podcast. Until next time, remember to do these three important things, three important elements that I practice every day. Number one, remember every day to have a grateful heart and connect to your gratitude. When you're connected to your gratitude, you're connected to positive feelings and positive emotions, and therefore bringing more positive people, things, and experiences into your life. Number two, remember every day to ground in love and compassion. Have love and compassion for yourself, and also share that love and compassion with others, because I really believe that whatever you put out in the world will come back to you. So make sure you put out love and compassion, because we all want more of that, right? And number three, just know that you're not alone on this journey. We're all in it together. And it's a guided journey. I say guided by God. So whether it's God for you, universe, higher power, whatever it is for you, I call it God. Know that you're never alone. You are guided on this journey. So just be a good listener and learn to just be open to receive all the different guidance in the world. I really believe it's there for you. So until next time, everybody, it's called the 3G effect. Remember to practice your 3G effect every day. And until next time, have a beautiful week, everyone. Great to be here with you. Namaste. Hi, this is Noah Crane. I'm excited to share this anthology book with you, The Grass Grows Where I Am. So just join us and be a part of this incredible book to help bring your message and influence into the world. We're excited to showcase what you do to make this world better. Click the link below.